Okay, uh, there's probably going to be a lot of swearing, so if any of my students are listening, I'm sorry. Um, yeah, I feel like I have to say that for some reason. But this is it. This is the last fucking podcast we're fucking doing. I can't believe it. I'm wearing headphones just because I feel like last time the audio, there's a lot of like puffing and whatever. I still sound like butt. Case in point. But I can't believe college football is essentially over. Like this is going to be the last episode of this season, and that's mind blowing. So thank you to those of you who have been listening or even just listened for 60 seconds. We got 100 listens total for the season. We're over on Spotify and over 100 views total for the season on YouTube. But I mean, like, I'll take that. I'm not. If anyone wants to like I mean, that's work in its part. So anyway, I just wanted to start with thank you. I swear if we go back to the first video, I will look younger and more vibrant and excited as opposed to beaten down and worn out. Um, but there's a lot to talk about, so I'm gonna bitch and moan. We're gonna go through top 10, and then we're gonna talk about just a few remarks: best coaching, best player, uh, most disappointing or surprising. And then the playoffs, and then I went through the bowls and went through each one, and I'll spare you, but we've got to start with we'll start with this is these are my final rankings, and this is my favorite part of anything I've done is tracking and having writing week by week how I think these teams are doing. Number 10, Ole Miss. No move from previous week. They didn't play. Oh, sorry. It's redundant. Same with Missouri, number 9. Number 8 is Oregon. They have dropped 3 spots from number 5. Number 7 is Ohio State. They have dropped 1. Number 6 is Georgia, falling from 2 to 6. I think I put -5. I think in my head I had them as number 1. So that should be 4 spots, which I think even makes more sense. 4 spots. Number 5 is Alabama, who is up 3 spots from number 8. 4 is Texas, up 1 spot. 3 up 1 spot is Florida State. 2 up 1 spot is Washington, and then Michigan holds the top spot. So in the McGinty playoffs, excuse me, you have Michigan versus Texas, and Washington versus Florida State, which I think would be 2 sets of very stomachable, if that's a word, games. That would be good. I think Florida State, even with a backup quarterback, would be a good game. Um, I don't know if they would win, and I think Michigan Texas would be a great game. And that's why I should be in charge of everything. But no, so let's talk about Florida State because that is the issue with the committee, and I think it's been interesting, like waiting on this podcast because I went through the bowl games and stuff, and then listening to everybody talk about why Alabama should be in and whether or not Florida State should be in, and so going to bed on Saturday night and even waking up Sunday morning, and this is even on my Twitter, like even after the announcement, I felt like Alabama should. I have no problem with Alabama going to the fourth spot. Um, because they beat the only way that happens is they beat the number one team in the country. They beat not only the number one team in the country, or at least in the poll for college football. They're not my number one team, but they're the two-time national champions who have not lost a game in 2 years, and Alabama beat that team. So if it were anybody else, right, or if Georgia had lost a game and wasn't in that spot, then I think Florida State is in. Um, and I think that's a reasonable argument. I do, or I did initially. Um, and then sleeping on it and hearing everyone talk has has like just created a greater amount of frustration in me regarding this Alabama team. And it's on a multitude of levels. And I think the first one is I'm so fucking tired of Alabama. I'm so fucking tired of them getting the benefit of the doubt all the time. And I think one of the things that we need to parcel about our discussion with Alabama is you have Nick Saban who creates unlimited potential. Unlimited. And then you have his roster and what they do and how they perform and how they execute in the game. And we're talking about an Alabama team on the one hand who played their best game of the season against Georgia. And no less than 7 days before that, played like absolute fucking ass against a horrible Auburn team that the week before that lost to New Mexico State. That Alabama team is now in the playoffs. Are you like that's where I stop. They had one game in a year where the SEC is down. The SEC is most definitely down this year. Um so this idea that we, the committee, college football in general, could leave Alabama out, it's um it's just looking at the SEC title game. And I don't that defeats the whole then why have rankings every week since the beginning of October? Like why are we even doing that? Just say conference title game and whoever we think looks the best, right? And I think that's the problem that everyone has with these rankings is it's just, if the shoe fits, we're going to wear it. If it's pretty, especially wear it. But the problem with Alabama is they have looked pedestrian most of the year. I think their best win was against Ole Miss, besides, obviously Georgia. I think that was a great win. Um, Tennessee was a good win on the road. That Tennessee team is not great. And I think that there are two things for me that get me like again riled up when it comes to Alabama. And the first one is the fact that they are in a conference that was 4-6 against the ACC, the conference that Florida State was in. So when you have like a head-to-head comparison, and we're talking about both teams who won their conference title game, Florida State and Alabama, why would you not take the undefeated team and the team that is from a better conference that has I'm sorry, the team that is from a conference that has a better record against the other conference and the team that won that title game? Do you know what I'm saying? Like those are metrics, but because Nick Saban is roaming the sidelines of Alabama, the potential for Alabama to do something in the playoffs is higher than Florida State. But at the same time, the potential is what my band director would call the P word. And he goes, "Do you guys know what that means? It means you're not good yet." So that's number one that pisses me off is there is this record of the two conferences head to head. And you can also look at that with Florida State beating LSU, who Alabama was going tit for tat until they knocked out LSU's best player and probable Heisman winner in Daniels. Um, but they beat LSU and they beat Florida. Okay. They beat those two teams. The Atlantic Coastal Conference has a better record against the SEC than the SEC does against them. And then the second thing is Texas. And Texas is a great example of a team that has looked better as the season's gone on. Like in the middle of the season, they had some very close wins, but like they destroyed Oklahoma State. And everyone can come out and say Oklahoma State's not a great team. I would disagree with that in the sense that, like, some bias that they beat Oklahoma. Um, but the way that they handled adversity against BYU, the way they pretty much beat, I think, every other team in the conference, they're not a bad team. Um, they just didn't beat Texas. Texas just is more versatile than Oklahoma State and has better, I mean, insanely better guys. Sorry about the beeping. Um, and Texas goes to Alabama and beats Alabama in Alabama's house. By putting Texas in, Alabama should not be in because we've answered that question. Like we don't get to play again. They go in. Florida State has not played Washington. They haven't played Michigan. I don't think Florida State, as far as I'm aware, never played a Big 12 team and never played a Big 10 team or a Pac 12 team. They played two SEC teams. So that is super frustrating to me. And as someone I like hate to bring in my I was gonna say I hate to bring in my like coaching experience because A, I'm a swim coach, and B, I'm a high school swim coach, not a college. Um, and so like it's a drop in the bucket compared to what these coaches have to deal with. But there's something very, very difficult as a coach when you're going through the season and every week you're preparing and you're seeing improvement in your players and you're watching them grow and you're handling adversity. Because I can tell you right now, like there's shit going down on these teams that like we just don't know about. Guys are showing up late. You have bad practices. You're not executing plays. People aren't passing their classes. Just name it. Like these are college kids. But there's always like this carrot at the end of like, y'all, if we execute, if we do the things I'm telling you to do, like this buy-in idea, then we will be successful. We will get to the promised land. We scheduled the great non-conference opponent with LSU. We um, have Florida at the end of the year. If we run the table and win our conference title game, we are in. We just have to execute every week and we will achieve our goal. And to just like get bamboozled. I mean, I think I have to pull up Florida State's schedule real quick. But the other thing is when you look at Alabama and who they're playing the week before Auburn, they're playing Chattanooga. And they got in. All right, I say Chattanooga. North Alabama was Florida's opponent, so I can't be too hard on them. Um, and like looking at their schedule, it's like not amazing. Boston College, Virginia Tech, that Duke game was, good. Um, but I think that's the thing is there's a huge we play sports, we watch sports, we spend hours discussing these things because it will look one way and then something happens and it drastically changes. And my favorite example that's come out during the week is if the NFL did the same thing when Carson Wentz went down for the Eagles, and they're going against the, you know, and, and they're in the playoffs. They're like, well, you can't go to the Super Bowl because you guys aren't going to beat Tom Brady and the Patriots, right? Or the Giants when they're a wild card. Like, no, like you take let the coach, you know? Let the team play. Florida State in the past few weeks has become one of the best defenses in the country. Um anyway, I originally thought this was a good thing that Alabama was in. And then the more I thought about it, the more I thought it was horseshit. And I think the other thing is when I was making my poll where I have Florida State 3 and Alabama 5, I remember I remember feeling so weird about moving Florida State up. But the whole philosophy or one of the philosophies around my top 10 is do not jump the gun. Like don't move people up too quickly. And in some sense, the only reason Florida State moved up to 3 is because I'm sorry, Georgia moved out. Um, and so it was just like, yeah, like you won your game. If you win your game, no matter how much, I dropped Georgia down to 2 because Michigan was dominating more than them. So I'm being a little bit of a hypocrite here. But you're not going to go down if you're winning your games, right? Especially a conference title game. Why would you go down? Excuse me. Like, why would you go down if you won? Oklahoma in the past has gone to national title games after losing their conference title. So anyway, it's really frustrating. I think the last thing I'll say before we start, I'll compare like what I had at the start of the season, my top 7, and then we'll look at what the playoffs could be. I'm sorry, we'll look at what the playoffs would be next year. Um, I part of me has also grown to hate when all these commentators have come out and been like, my heart goes out to these kids. Dude, no, it doesn't. Like that doesn't help. That's not helping anyone. It's almost like just look in the camera and be like, I'm sorry that this is all about money. I'm sorry that this sport has become all about money and ticket revenue and advertising dollars. And no one wants to watch your team because they don't believe in you, and Bama draws more eyeballs. And we, as a committee of random assholes, don't want to be embarrassed like we were last year when TCU was in. That's it. That's what they should say. So it sucks. The other thing that sucks is I hear people who go, well, next year we're not going to have this problem. The problem that we're going to have next year is watered down shit because college football as we know it and that wonderful regular season is pretty much going to be over. Conference title games probably shouldn't exist. Here's why. Number one of the things that made college football so phenomenal is the fact that it was a playoff every week. Every week was a playoff. In the sense that like if you had 2 undefeated teams, those are the teams that are going to the national title. There was no committee, right? So you had to be perfect. You had to be perfect. So many of these conferences, the Big 12, the Pac 12, the SEC, the ACC, had North and South or East and West divisions, and you had to be perfect in those divisions. Um, so you couldn't lose. You couldn't afford to lose. Now you can have multiple losses and still make the playoffs. You can have multiple losses next year, not win your conference title, and then win the national title, which seems ridiculous. The first round of the playoffs, if it happened this year, would be the following: Liberty, which is bullshit. SMU got fucked. Stu, if you're listening. SMU got fucked. Like, Liberty didn't play anyone from a Power Five conference, and they got in. And yet SMU has a top 10 defense and offense and played, I think it was three Power Five teams, including Oklahoma, and they didn't get in. And they played great this year. No one wants to see this game, but it'd be Liberty at in Tallahassee, Florida State. Okay, no one wants to watch that. Missouri at Oregon. I'll take it. That's the 9-8. Ole Miss, Georgia. Pause. They did not play. They did play this year. I was about to say they didn't play this year. Ole Miss played Georgia this year. They got their ass handed to them. We're gonna watch that again. Are you fucking serious? Why the fuck do we want to watch that again? At Georgia? Again, it was at Georgia this season. That's the playoff game. So, hypothetically speaking, Georgia plays Alabama in the title game. Georgia loses the title game and then gets to host Ole Miss, who they fucking beat, to then advance in the playoffs. Are we fucking serious? Sorry, again, I totally laugh. It's bullshit. I think it's total bullshit. Penn State at Ohio State. Guess who is in the same division? They will be getting rid of divisions in the Big Ten next year. But these teams will play Penn State at Ohio State. Again, Ohio State would kill Penn State. Again. So that's a game I don't want to see. Liberty at Florida State because Florida State's going to stomp them. And then two games in the first round that have already happened. That's next year. That's the solution to this bullshit. It's fucking ridiculous. The quarterfinals. So the winner of Liberty, Florida State, which would be Florida State, would play Alabama. It's pretty much the game that they were like, they weren't trying to avoid, but they were trying to avoid like a Georgia, Florida State. Right? And here we are. Like, well, all of a sudden we're back. We're like, oh, we fixed it. And then, oh, well, these things are happening again. The winner of Oregon and Missouri is at Michigan, which that works. That's fine. The winner of Ole Miss, Georgia is at Texas. And then the winner of Penn State, Ohio State is at Washington. Which those work. Like, okay, that's fine. But that first round is just like, why? I don't understand. It's just baloney. The whole thing is baloney. And it's going to be watered down and it's going to take forever. And we're going to have these commercial breaks. I sound like a Grinch, but it is one of those things where, like, it's part of me does question, like, oh my God, did I start this podcast and whole little side fun chore thing at the closing of the golden era of college football? Because I don't like this is, I call it the NFLification of college football. Um, so anyway, I don't think this is any better. Brian, what's your solution? Well, hey, I'm so glad you asked. My solution would be this. Let's say it's the college football rankings as it is, not mine, which again, I went through the playoffs and those matchups would be baller. Again, those matchups, Michigan, Texas, Washington, Florida State. Yeah, fuck. It's going to be fucking awesome because I have logic and reasoning. But let's go through. Number one's Michigan. Yeah. Number one's Michigan. Number two is Washington, and then number three is Texas. Texas and Washington would play for a spot in the national title game. That's it. That's your solution. That's it. Who's debating that? Nobody. Nobody. In theory, my real theory of how I do this is if there's two undefeated teams, they just play. But again, you know, Florida State, you encounter that problem and blah, blah. Okay, whatever. No one's going to debate that the top two teams right now, I don't think there's any discussion, especially after the Georgia loss is Michigan and Washington. So, well, what about Texas? Okay, fine. Play Washington. Um, you could hypothetically, the way I have it here on my ranking, top three teams are the ones that haven't lost a game. Michigan, Washington, Florida State. Florida State and Washington play for a chance to play Michigan. Done. That solves everything. Everything remains intact. Everything is solved. It's so frustrated. Why can't we do that? I don't understand. Anyway, let's compare what I had at the start of the season with now. I started the season with my rankings the following: number one, Georgia; number two, Bama; number three, Ohio State; number four, Michigan. I think for the most part, most people had something like that. Um, I think that's pretty good. Here's where things kind of fall apart: LSU 5, Utah 6, and then Florida State 7. So, not too shabby, not too difficult. It's not like it was crazy. Um, the one other thing I want to say before I go to like my lame awards, there's only three. So, um, is this transfer portal shit is fucking I can't tell if I love it or hate it. I kind of hate it because I'm old school. But I'm gonna read the quarterbacks. I don't think enough has been made in this. Um, who are all from the transfer portal, who are like integral parts of their high flying teams. Jordan Travis. I thought he was recruited by Florida State, like Florida State lifer. That they make him sound like that. He was on Louisville's team for a year and then transferred. Jaden Daniels at LSU is from Arizona State. Quinn Ewers at Texas is from Ohio State. Bo Nix from Auburn. He was at Oregon. Michael Penix Jr. at Washington was at Indiana. Again, Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, Jordan Travis at one point, all Heisman contenders on different teams than they were recruited. Caleb Williams, OU, right? And he started the year as a Heisman contender. So it's really helping the quarterback room. Um, and it's really helping some of these teams at McNamara at Michigan, right? I'm pretty sure he was a transfer. I'll double check. Um, and McCord at Ohio State is actually transferring out. Anyway, we'll get to that in a second, but that's pretty interesting to me. And so this quarterback musical chairs that's happening, I think that's good for college football. Getting this talent out. Um, I don't think the roster at Arizona State was going to have the juice for Jaden Daniels. And to see what he has done is pretty amazing. So let's pivot. I mean, my award for best player is Jaden Daniels. His stats are absolutely mind blowing: 72% completion percentage, 3,800 yards throwing the ball, 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. And then rushing wise, he ran for 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns, 8.4 yards a carry. That's insane. Um, and that's on 135, anyway, 135 carries. So the dude's absolutely phenomenal. Who knows what would have happened if he stayed in the Alabama game? Best coach, Jed Fish at Arizona. That guy took over his first year. They went 1-11 his very first year. The next year, 5-7. The next year, 9-3 in a bowl game. So, and they've had some amazing games. They've been amazing against the spread this year. Like that Arizona team is one of the better teams in the Pac-12. He's done a phenomenal job, and so I'll be excited to see him in the Oklahoma bowl game. Biggest surprise: USC Trojans, that dumpster fire. I'm going to read you the list of wins for Lincoln Riley, Caleb Williams, and the Los Angeles SoCal Trojans. San Jose State, Nevada, Stanford, Arizona State, Colorado, and an triple overtime win against Arizona in Los Angeles. That's pretty good. Okay, that is 5 wins. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6 wins. Okay, 6 wins. And here we go. They finish 7-5. They lose to Notre Dame, Utah, Cal. Oh, sorry, they beat Cal by 1. Again, I'm being vindictive. Notre Dame, Utah, Washington lost to Oregon and lost to UCLA. So they are very, very bad. And with a Heisman Trophy winner, they can't even pull together. So USC is the biggest surprise because they were actually decent last year. And I don't know how their defense got worse. But like I'm not gonna sit here and say that I was glad Lincoln Riley left. I mean that guy could name his quarterback and they were gonna come to Oklahoma. Um, he was great with Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray. I think he underwhelmed with Jalen Hurts, and the NFL situation has proved that because I didn't think Jalen Hurts was going to do much. Um, and despite like our, you know, defensive underperformance, I'll take Big 12 titles and beating Texas and call it what it is. Excuse me, with the hope that, one day it'll all click. Um, I was upset how he left, and I won't get into all that now, as you can see, I'm already getting worked up. But so I'm taking great pleasure in the fact that Brent Venables seems to have taken control over the Oklahoma program in a great way that harkens back to the way it was under Bob Stoops, and that this clown is suffering mightily. Um, Anyway, so with that in mind, we are going to go to. I have a breakdown of all the bowl games. So if anyone is suffering from insomnia, has difficulty focusing on something, have I got a podcast for you? So I will start with things that you are interested in, top, and then I will go to the first and worst bowl games near the end, so you can like cut out. So with that in mind, oh, I forgot to look at my best bet. We lost best bet last week. I finished 8-6 on the season. I think I was on like a 6-1 heater. Um, so that was pretty great. So I'm hoping that this works out in some way. I am picking. Let's go Sugar Bowl. Number 3, Texas versus. Oh, I didn't do the matchup predictor. Damn it. Um, Let me pull that up. I'm sorry. Number 3, Texas versus number 2, Washington. Washington is a 4-point favorite. Um, I really like this ESPN matchup predictor, and I've done them for all the bowls. And I don't like, there's a few times on here where I've been like, this doesn't seem right. And I feel like I've been right about that. So let's see what they say about these two that I did not. Okay. This is a 68% chance for Texas winning. So this would be a great example. That's pretty fucking crazy. I have Washington winning that game. So Washington is the favorite in Vegas. They are my favorite. They are not the analytical favorite for ESPN. So that's what I'm going to be giving you as we go through this. That game, 3 versus 1. Alabama versus Michigan in the Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all. This one has Michigan as a 55% favorite over Alabama. The spread is Michigan 1.5 in the Rose Bowl. So we have analytics agreeing with Michigan and Vegas, and not so with Texas and Washington. I have Washington winning. I have Michigan winning, and I have Michigan as your cheating national title winners. Um, so we'll see. We'll see if that works. If Texas wins any of these, I don't know how I'm going to live with myself. On the one hand, good for them, and way to kiss the Big 12's ass on the way out the door. It's not really kiss, it's a kick. I don't know. Throw up the finger, whatever you want to call it, and say that you're SEC ready. On the other hand, let's put it this way. If Texas plays Bama in the title game, I will be rooting for Texas all fucking day long. If Texas is playing anybody else, I will not be rooting for them. And my wife went to Washington. So I will take Washington. Vegas takes Washington. Analytics say differently. All right, let's go down. God bless any of you who are still with me or are going to stay with me to the end. To the Cheez It Citrus Bowl. Number 17, Iowa versus number 21, Tennessee. Tennessee is a 7.5 point favorite, and they have a 70% chance to win this game according to ESPN. Um, I would agree with that. I have Tennessee winning. I think it's gonna be like 10-0. And here's the other thing before I move on. These like games right before the national title game fucking suck. They're so bad. So get your college football watching in a little early in the lead up to Christmas because those some of those games are actually pretty good. Right, excuse me. The next game, the Verbo Fiesta Bowl. Number 23 Liberty versus number 6 Oregon. Oregon is a 16-point favorite, and ESPN has them as a 90% favorite to win. I too have Oregon. Okay, and this is for your office pool, my people. The Relia Quest Bowl. Wisconsin versus LSU. LSU's a 10.5 point favorite with Vegas, and they have an 81% chance to win that game. The Barstool Sports Arizona Bowl, Toledo versus Wyoming. Toledo is 11-2. They're a 1 point favorite, and they have a 53% chance to win. I am taking Toledo. By the way, I don't know if I said I'm taking LSU, but I'm taking LSU. All right. Another shitty game. The Capital One Orange Bowl. Number 6, Georgia versus number 5, Florida State. Georgia is a 14-point favorite. I think I looked up the analytics. I don't have it here. It's like 88% Georgia. And I have Georgia winning that game. Number 33, Trans Perfect Music City Bowl. When I saw Trans Perfect, I was like, oh my God, is this like a gay pride thing? Which, great, no problem with that. But I was like, man, we're gonna get the whole like cancel culture shit going or whatever. It's not. It's like some bank or some. I looked it up. It's not that, but I guarantee you somebody in Nashville is like, this train's perfect. These goddamn lips. Anyway, Music City Bowls, Auburn versus Maryland. Auburn is a 2.5 point favorite, and they have a 53% chance to win. I have Maryland winning that one. I think Maryland's going to win that. All right, 32. The Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl is Ole Miss versus Penn State. I think this is actually going to be a good game. This is going to be one of the better games going. Um, Penn State is a 3 point favorite in Vegas, and they have a 72% chance to win the game. I have Ole Miss winning that game, not Penn State. The Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. Missouri versus Ohio State. Ohio State is a 75% favorite or 75% chance to win. I have Missouri winning because Tom McCord is going to be out the corner. Ohio State. The AutoZone Liberty Bowl. Memphis versus Iowa State. Um, Iowa State is an 8.5 point favorite. They have a 62% chance to win, according to ESPN, and I have Iowa State. Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl in El Paso. Oregon State versus Notre Dame. Notre Dame is an 8.5 point favorite. They're 65% chance to win that game, according to ESPN, and they are my favorite. Go with Notre Dame. The Tax Slayer Gator Bowl, Clemson versus Kentucky. Clemson is a 7 point favorite. They have a 66% chance to win. Sorry, I'm going to fumble percent the entire time. And I have Clemson winning. Pop Tarts Bowl, NC State versus Kansas State. This one's weird. Kansas State is a 3.5 point favorite, 74% chance to win the game. I have NC State winning just because K State's quarterback is leaving. Something Howard, I forget his full name. He's out, so he won't be playing. So I think they're in trouble. I like NC State's defense. Bad Boys Mowers Pinstripe Bowl. Rutgers versus Miami. Miami's a 2.5 point favorite, 66% chance to win. I am taking Rutgers in Yankee Stadium. That was my best New York accent. The Wasabi Fenway Bowl. SMU versus Boston College. SMU's an 11-point favorite, 83% chance to win. I'm taking SMU. Go Stangs. The Valero Alamo Bowl, Arizona, 3-point favorite versus Oklahoma. 75% chance to win that game. Oklahoma. I am taking the Sooners, baby. I mean, I sound like a tool. I'm sorry. I just got excited. Forgive me. If you're still listening, God bless you. Tax Act Texas Bowl. Texas A&M is a 3.5-point favorite against Oklahoma State. Texas A&M also has a 72% chance to win that game. I'm taking Texas A&M because I don't think Ollie Gordon's going to play. I'm not sure. I doubt he's going to play. The Direct TV Holiday Bowl, Louisville versus the University of Southern California Trojans. Louisville is a 7.5-point favorite, even though ESPN has USC, excuse me, as a 54% chance to win. Take Louisville. Number 21, we have 21 more to go. Duke's Mayo Bowl, North Carolina versus West Virginia. ESPN's favorite is North Carolina with 60% chance to win. Vegas's favorite is West Virginia with a 3-point fave. Take West Virginia. Military Bowl by GoBowling.com. Virginia Tech versus Tulane. Virginia Tech. This is a weird one. Okay. And I wanted to go in more detail with some of these bowls, but fuck it. Like, this is already taking too long. This game is weird. Virginia Tech is an 8-point favorite, and they are also have a 55% chance to win according to ESPN. Take Tulane. I think this Tulane team is good, and Virginia Tech's been mid. Guaranteed Rate Bowl, KU, University of Kansas versus UNLV. This is another one I thought would be closer. If you're feeling, take the points. Take UNLV to cover. Take KU to win. They're 72% fave. ServPro First Responders Bowl, Texas State versus Rice. Texas State is a 4-point favorite and Rice is a 60% chance to win. So ESPN is saying one thing, Vegas is saying another. Take Rice. Quick Lane Bowl, Bowling Green versus Minnesota. 60% chance. Minnesota has a 60% chance to win that game. They're also a 3-point favorite. I am taking Minnesota. Number 16, Easy Post Hawaii Bowl. Coastal Carolina is first against San Jose State. San Jose State is the Vegas favorite at 9.5, and they're a 57% fave for ESPN. Take San Jose State. The SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl, Utah, one of my preseason faves, versus Northwestern. They are Utah is a 6.5-point favorite, and they have a 77% chance to win the game. Take Utah. 68 Ventures Bowl, South Alabama versus Eastern Michigan. Dude, if you got money, man, just hit the fuck out of this game. South Alabama is a 15-point favorite and an 83% chance to win that game. Take South Alabama. Number 13, the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. Delicious. Georgia State versus Utah State. Georgia State's a 2-point favorite with Vegas, but Utah State has a 57% chance to win. Take Utah State. Excuse me. Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl, James Madison versus Air Force. I really want to take Air Force. I really do. But James Madison's a 3-point favorite and a 64% chance to win. Take James Madison. The Camila Bowl. That's it. That's all it was called. Arkansas State versus Northern Illinois. Jesus Christ, if you're bored, this is going to be on. On December 23rd, 12 o'clock. Take Northern Illinois, even though Arkansas State is a 1-point favorite. Northern Illinois has a 53% chance to win. The 76, we have 10 more. Birmingham Bowl. Troy versus Duke. Duke is a 57% chance to win this game. Troy is a 7-point favorite. Take Troy. Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl, Georgia Tech versus UCF. This game, I think, is going to be really good, and it's really underrated. When you have guests in town, this is going to be on December 22nd. Both teams are 6-6. Georgia Tech has looked good at times this year. UCF has looked good at times this year. I really think this is going to be an interesting game. It's also at night, 6:30. UCF is a 4.5 point favorite. They're also a 66% chance to win. I am taking Georgia Tech. Roof Claim Boca Raton Bowl. South Florida versus Syracuse. Syracuse is a 3 point favorite. They have a 74% chance to win. South Florida's absolute ass this year. Take Cuse. Scooters Cafe. Frisco Bowl right in the backyard where my high school plays their football games at Toyota Stadium occasionally. UTSA versus Marshall. UTSA is a 9 point favorite. They have a 68% chance to win this game. Take UTSA. The famous Toastery Bowl, Western Kentucky versus Old Dominion. Old Dominion's a 2.5 point favorite. I did not get the, I'm sorry, yeah, 2.5 point favorite from Vegas. Didn't get the ESPN analytics. I think it had Old Dominion winning, but I have them winning, so take that. Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl, Cal versus Texas Tech. Texas Tech is a 60% fave with ESPN analytics, and they're a 3 point fave. For some reason, I am taking Cal. Cal has just been doing wonkadoo stuff this year. The Starco, we have five more. Starco Brands, LA Bowl, UCLA versus Boise State. I really want to take Boise State here. But UCLA is a 1 point favorite, and they have a 58% chance to win. Take UCLA. The Isleta New Mexico Bowl with New Mexico State versus Fresno State. Mexico State is a 3 point favorite. However, Fresno State has a 54% chance to win. Take New Mexico State. Avocados from Mexico Bowl. Miami, Ohio versus Appalachian State. Man, I love Appalachian State. Like, love them. I think they just wreck people's stuff. But you cannot ignore our MAC friends. Give me the 11-2 Miami of Ohio versus the favored by 5.5 Appalachian State. Take Appalachian. I'm sorry. Take Miami, Ohio. Yeah, take Miami, Ohio. Sorry. Screw Appalachian State, even though they have a 52% chance to win. Two more. RL Carriers New Orleans Bowl, Jacksonville State versus Louisiana Raging Cajuns. Jacksonville State is a 3 point favorite, 52% chance to win the game. Take Jacksonville State. And last but not least, but the kickoff to your bowl season for the holidays. Myrtle Beach Bowl, Georgia Southern versus Ohio. Ohio has a 53% chance to win. They are 9-3 versus Georgia Southern 6-6. Ohio is a 3 point underdog. Take Ohio. If you're still with me, best non-playoff games for bowl season: the Cotton Bowl, Mizzou versus Ohio State, and Arizona at OU. Everyone, I love you. Have a safe holiday season. Thank you so much for humoring me. I will be bigger, better, and bolder next year, or I'll be in a grave. I will see you around. Good night. And I wish I had something, and good luck. But thanks for listening. Thank you, everyone. This was a blast.